A watchmaker? Balthazar. Salutations. You must be that wonderful artist, no? Yeah, Master Andreas Mahler, yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Balthazar Eisenkopf, at your service. But call me Balthas, please. It's much more familiar. Oh, a pleasure, Balthas. Have you been in Tassing long? Oh, just a few seasons. My cart broke down, and I found the place so charming I decided to stay. I enjoy the quiet, but I must say I do miss the company of other intellectuals. Usually that good Dr. Stoltz and I whittle the hours away in the evenings. So naturally, when I heard the well-known artist had returned, I was beside myself. Well, I'm always pleased to meet a like-minded individual. What do you do? I'm an inventor of sorts. Really? What do you make? All sorts of things, young man. Mechanical clocks of all sizes, metal mice that skitter about, even light without flame. Oh, truly impressive, Balthas. Thank you, Andreas. I knew a fellow artist such as yourself would appreciate my work. Well, I had the best to get back to it. You know how it is for us few called to a higher art. Good luck, Balthas. Until later. And I hope I remember your accent when later comes, because that's a new character right there, making clocks and mice that skitter about. And this is the doctor. Potentially a new doctor? Things are looking up. House is looking lovely. Werner. Yes. Oh, Andreas Mahler. How unexpected. I'm very busy at the moment. Another time? Later then. And he's cutting up. Is doing potions and stuff. It makes sense that he would be busy. He's not, just cutting up leaves and whatever, because you can talk while doing that. Anyway, let's go to the baker. Hello? Excuse me. Hi. Hello. Anna. Look at you, so grown up. Hello, Master Andreas. She doesn't remember me. She was really small. God bless you, Andreas. I'm thankful you returned to Tassing after so long. We prayed so fondly for you after you left. Thank you, Gret. I've kept Tassing in my prayers as well, though it doesn't seem to have done much good. Ah, that's right. You were at Otto's speech earlier. Yes, Tassing's peasants are struggling, and now even we townsfolk are pinched by the Abbott's new restrictions. I worry about my husband. He's getting too involved with the whole business. Well, what Journeau is doing in Tassing is wrong, and Otto is standing up to him. That's what Ulrich says too. I love my husband, but sometimes I worry that he focuses too intently on the details. He does not see that he may be both prudent and Christian. I pray that I am not acting selfishly, but the Abbott's taxes have affected us too. What about Anna's future? Ulrich has been offering credit to Peter for years, which I have accepted, but now we can only bake so much bread a week before we go hungry ourselves. Can you talk to him, Andreas? Oh. Of course, Gret, but I can't promise I'll change his mind. God bless you, Andreas. That's all I ask. Yeah, mostly because I want to know what the hell's going on. So they're to Peter. They're giving credit to Peter, and I'm trying to recall who Peter is there. That's a Drucker, right? Peter Drucker? Potentially. Martin Bauer. Catherine. Andreas? Andreas Mahler? Hello, Cat. Oh, is she blind? Well, wouldn't you look at that? You are back in Tassing. No, I don't think she's blind. Her eyes are just like that. And look at you. You've done well for yourself. Who's this? Cat, please meet Caspar, my apprentice. Hello. He's got the posture of an artist, that's for sure. Good strong face, though. I do? What brings you back to Tassing, Andreas? Just passing through on the way back to Nuremberg. How have you been, Cat? You seem well. I feel well. The past few years have been challenging, but I'm stronger now for the Lord's trials. Friends passed a few winters ago, then Wolf Wolf is a little baby. Oh, he passed after. Brigitte and I nearly lost a farm. And our minds. But Martin returned shortly after and is proved to be a changed man. A good man. He saved us from destitution. I'd been wondering where Wolf was. I'm so sorry, Cat. I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. There's nothing to say, is there? He was a good boy. A sweet, good little boy. The stars dimmed when he passed. But that was years ago now. I try not to dwell on it, to be strong for Brigitte, and to find solace in the knowledge he is with God now. Times may be hard in Tassing right now, but God truly does answer our prayers. I'm glad you and your family are well, Cat, despite everything. Thank you, Andreas. It truly is good to see you again, even in the midst of such terrible times. Until later, Cat. Until then. So I purposely didn't mention the old dude because he was abusive and terrible. In general, and a bad person in particular. Yeah, just pretty obvious. The compassionate option was the one that I chose. Andreas Mahler, good to see you again after all these years, says Martin. And you as well. What have you been up to? You look like you've done well for yourself. Art. I lived and worked in Aragon for a few years. Huh. And people here think I'm well-traveled because I've been to Ulm. Though I suppose I have had a lot of adventures for a country boy. What happened to you anyway? Oh, right. You know, I stole some of the Baron's things. I didn't make it far with them. I tried to sell them in Valgau, and I got robbed. Serves me right, I guess. Luckily, they didn't find the coins I was carrying. The money carried me around Bavaria for another month and a half. Then I started stealing. I grew bigger and more confident over time and became a highwayman. Nice. I like the sounds of this. It's less thrilling than you may believe. Anyway, it didn't last long. I eventually got scared out of it. I had a partner for the last year of my adventures. We tried to rob some Italians. We thought they were merchants traveling under the banner of St. George. And St. George is a 2nd century Praetorian guard and patron saint of England. He's most well known for his legendary victory against a dragon. Yes, he is. There's a lot of not paintings. Yes, also paintings, but specifically sculptures of him killing a dragon and stuff like that. But they were soldiers guarding money from the Bank of St. George in Genoa. I say because I know this stuff. Exactly, says Martin. I learned that later. My partner didn't survive the encounter. I was wounded and alone in the wilderness. I thought of my father, my mother, Brigitte. I realized I couldn't remember Wolf's face anymore. I had to come back and take up the responsibilities I had left behind. Was coming back difficult? It was. It felt like I had stepped out of another life into this one. It took me a while to get used to everything, to remember how things used to be. It's all in the past now. Just need to look forward. That's a good attitude. I'll talk to you later, Martin. Until then. So basically, throughout the first chapter of the game, or not first chapter maybe, but at least before he left, he wanted to leave the town. He didn't actually let that on. That's interesting. That's really well written. He was not written in that way, because he could, like, a lesser writer would think of his character and be like, okay, we have this character who's a coward and likes stealing stuff, and he's going to leave town and spend a few years being a brigand. How do we write him? And a lesser writer would just write him as being like, oh, I hate it here. My wife, oh, she's... And then you'd have been able to tell immediately, as soon as he left, you'd be like, oh yeah, he wanted to leave. So he's no longer a freaking, he's no longer a suspect, because, you know his motivations. But as the way he was written, he was just harboring his motives for himself, as he would, because, maybe he didn't even, maybe just, the opportunity makes the thief sometimes. Although he was a thief before, but maybe he just decided it as a whim and be like seeing himself full of riches and being like, okay, I'm making it. I'm running away into another town. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. Brigitte is here, though. Hello, Andreas. Hello, Brigitte. How are you? As well as anyone can be in Tassing right now. Yeah, it looks If I say this, she's not gonna like it, so I'm gonna go with the first one. Yeah, it looks like things are going well for you. Martin returned after all. Yes, the winter without him was excruciating. I lost little Wolf, and Kat was worried that she'd lose the farm after friends died. But then Martin returned, and he's provided well for us ever since. Despite the tightening restrictions we've gotten by, I'm thankful. That's wonderful to hear. I'm happy for you. Thank you, Andreas. It's been good to see you again, but I should be going. Until then. Until then. She's not going yet, by the way. She's just staying there. And let's see who lives in this house. Nobody lives in this house. Yeah, that house is destitute. So the church is not keeping it up, basically. They just took the house from the woman without thinking about it. And Hetty's here. This is Johan's... I forget their role. They're just... Oh, right. I remember Johan. He was the... Yeah. This is where we came to do the sheep thing and all that. The wool. Johan. Andreas Mallard, didn't expect to ever see you back in Tassing. You look like you've done well for yourself. Thanks. How have you been? Things went well for a while after you left. Widow Kemperin lost her land, and the Abbott let us work it. My brother's heart gave out not long after, but then Martin came back to help work the land. Oh, he's his brother. Okay. Even so, it's been hard to keep up with the Abbott's demands, the taxes, and everything else. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people are upset with the Abbott these days. They have good reason to be. I know you didn't get on well with the man either. Father Matthias never let things get this bad. Anyway, good to see you, Andreas, even if you are just passing through. Actually, Father Matthias never let things get this bad. Yeah, that's very well established. Even because the tightening was already happening in the first part of the game, but obviously, yeah. So it's just basically, yeah, it is basically a change. It is all down to the current father. Until later. And we have Hans here. Hey, Andreas, heard rumor you were back. Hello, Hans. Meet Kaspar, my apprentice. Also, he says, heard rumor you were back. It might be a typo. But also, this is the simple-minded little boy that we met over here. He didn't, and when I say simple-minded, I don't mean it as an euphemism. I mean it as a literal. He didn't think too much of things. He's the kind of like he didn't. Yeah. But then again, it didn't come across to me as having any sort of developmental issues. But it might be that's the case. Let's hope that it's a typo, honestly. Hello, says Kaspar. Hello. Are you from Nuremberg, like Andreas? I'm from Salzburg, says Kaspar. Is that very far from here? Not too far, I think. A few days to the east on horseback. I've never been outside of Tassing. Or ridden a horse. You should get out of this place while you're young, Hans. It's a shithole. Do you know another alpine town with 2 saints? Seems fine to me, all things considered. That's because you've never been any place else, I say. Though truly everywhere is a shithole. Even Nuremberg? Asks Hans, and Andrea says exactly what I was expecting him to say, especially Nuremberg. I didn't mind Salzburg, says Kaspar. I'm glad I live in Tassing then, says Hans. At least it's not a shit. At least it's my shithole. Until later, Hans. Until then. That's fair enough. I just wanted to get him to, you know, live up a little and all that. Hetty. Hello, Andreas. Hello, indeed. And these things, I don't think these are, I think they just have their beaks open. That's what those are. And it's not like the beak goes down and then they have a weird thing on their nose. Yeah, it's definitely. I thought the birds had a thing on their nose. Why do they have their beaks open? That's not how birds do. Is it how birds do? I think that might be how birds do. Maybe. And the gardeners, nobody's outside. Hello. That's Big York. Clara. Hello again, Andreas. We're about to sit down to supper. Care to join? I want to walk around a bit more. I'll be back soon. That's interesting. Can I eat here? Peter and Big York? Hello, Andreas. Hello, Andreas. That's Ursula. She's all grown up. Hello. Hello, Ursula. Do you remember me? No. Should I? Yeah, she was very young, absolutely. You used to poke me in the foot with a stick to wake me up. I did? You did? I stayed in the room upstairs. I kind of remember that. I think you told me a story once. Mom and Dad sometimes talk about you. They said you went away for more training. What was that like? Well, while I was in Aragon, I learned a new technique to make colors that... No, not about the art, Andreas, about your travels. All right. In the forest of Aragon, I saw a giant. What? They call him Basajarao. Basajarao? Yeah, it's the ho sound. They call him Basajarao. Spanish is difficult. They call him Basajarao. He's 9 feet tall. His beard is as long as Big Yorg's whole body. 1 foot is like yours or mine, but the size of a whole pig. The other is a tree trunk. He whistles to the shepherds when storms are coming so they can get their flocks to safety. How did you see him? Oh, the cough. I was in the forest and he spied on me because I was eating bread, which everyone knows is the Basajaro's favorite food. I wish I could see a giant someday. Andreas, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you know the stories about Perchta and the Wild Hunt? Well, Perchta we do know, because she was the goddess of the Alps. The Wild Hunt in Germanic folklore is a supernatural cavalcade of spirits and fiends, which may cause destruction or pretend war, and other catastrophes if not adequately appeased. The Wild Hunt is often led by a legendary figure such as Perchta or the Devil. Or if you're in The Witcher, that's the other thing there. A little, says Andreas. I didn't learn about them until I lived here. Why? Are they bad? Bad how? Well, my grandpa tells me things about Perchta and spirits and charms. And the old woman, Otelia, she talks about them too, and says all these words I don't understand. She told me they're part of the old ways or something. So, why do you think they're bad? Well, my dad says I shouldn't listen to any of it. He said it's nonsense and that Father Thomas would be mad. He said he only tolerates it with old people because they're too stuck in their ways. I don't want to get in trouble, but Grandpa says if I don't learn the old ways, they'll just be forgotten. And why are you asking me? I'm afraid if I ask someone else, they'll tell my dad, or worse, Father Thomas. So are they bad? So she's being portrayed. She reads people well. And obviously her writing is utilitarian here for us to have access to the theme of basically the cultural erasure of many of the traditions of the pagan populations of Central Europe in particular, but this is obviously a theme that applies to a lot of different places as well. But I feel like it's kind of because it's such a utilitarian writing there. I think anyway, the focus on on the mechanisms of things being forgotten, that it kind of bypasses her character writing a little. But I think she is being portrayed. The fact that she understands the people here and she can't talk about this to everybody. I think as a kid anyway, it's what she's being portrayed as. They're not bad, but those stories could get you in trouble. So maybe you shouldn't learn about the old ways. Really? She doesn't believe that. Well, they're just stories, of course, but I'm sorry. Forgot I said anything. Until later. I think it's impossible to prevent her from learning about the old ways. That was very, very low chance of everything. And we have... Yeah, and also, I mean, people are sick every once in a while. She's coughing. But in the video game, she might have, like, pneumonia or something terrible like that. And she might die. Veronica. Hello, Andreas. Good to see you back in town. Hello, Veronica. How have you been? Oh, you know, pulled every which way. Mum's been a cow about when I'll give her grandchildren. As if I'm not doing enough work already. You're married now? Oh yeah, I guess you wouldn't know. Big Jorg and I were married 2 springs back. Congratulations to you both. Thanks. Now, Mum's nagging me about when we'll have kids. Oh, you shouldn't rush something as important as children. That's what I keep telling her. Maybe you should talk to her, Andreas. If it comes from someone as successful as you, maybe she'll pay attention. Anyway, I should get back to work. We're all preparing for the festival. I'll leave you to it. Until later, Veronica. See you, Andreas. And old ill Peter is still here. Hello, ill Peter. Eh. Oh, it's you. Artist from a few years ago. Yeah, Andreas Mahler. I'm surprised you remember me. Everyone seems to think my mind is going, but it's still sharp as a nail. And also the fact that he's old and it's not been... It says a few years ago, because it's not been his entire life like Ursula. And yeah. Endris makes nails. Endris, yeah, we remember Endris. You know, good man. Oh, his mind is wandering, though. Oh, right. Are you staying with my family again? No, I'm staying at the Golden Hand. Those misers charge us just as much as the pilgrims for a drink, but won't support my son in his cause. Then that new Abbott must have gotten to them, the bastard. Why do you hate the Abbott so much? Everything went to shit after Father Matthias died. That man, God rest his soul, never increased taxes. He might have asked for a tithe in harder winters, but we were happy to help the abbey then. We could take from the forest as we needed. Brother Florian used to help us in our illness. Let us follow in the ways of our forefathers. A true Christian, that old abbot. And then? Father Journeau promised he would keep everything between the abbey and us, peasants, the same. And we were foolish enough to believe him. At first, he refused to allow Florian to come down anymore. Taxes got higher, he stopped allowing us to pay in goods and livestock. Now he only takes coin, as though we can come by enough of that in a year to pay our rents alone. The bastard doesn't give a damn about us. Not how Father Matthias did. Father Journeau's been an ass longer than I thought. You should talk to my son. You should help him stop that bastard, Abbott. I should go. All right. So they're both coughing. So this is the early 1500s. What's the popular diseases of the early 1500s, I wonder? Yeah, I need to have dinner with him. But I don't know what's going to happen with talking. I don't know if it's going to move things forward, basically, but let's talk. Let's check out the forest. Brother Voislav uses thyme. That's thyme. Got Smokey's place. Smokey's still here. Oh, hello, Master Mallory. You're looking well. Thank you, Smokey. How are you? I'm well enough, I guess. Vaxlav went his way a few years ago, which I suppose was bound to happen. Oh, he might have stayed here for longer then, if he wasn't, because he was here like only a few months by the time we started the game. So for him to, well, maybe he would remember us talking to him. I miss the company sometimes, but now there's no one to keep me from my gossip. No one to tell it to either. Oh, I'm always partial to a few new tidbits of information. Do tell, Smokey. Half of the ears in Tassing will be burning by the end, Master Mallory. And nearly all of them in the Abbey. Oh. I did see another Imperial Reich Post courier ride from the Abbey a few days ago. Imperial Reich Post, a private mail service run by the Thurn und Taxis family and approved by the Holy Roman Empire. Brother Gui dropped the bag once. It looked heavy. The Abbey must be doing better than the Abbott is letting on. I'd heard the Abbey was struggling with its funds. Curious, isn't it? The courtiers arrive once or twice a month. Doesn't help that the Abbot has tightened restrictions so close to St. John's Eve, too. The townsfolk get up to all sorts of mischief then. Oh? What sort of mischief? I'd wagered Johann and Kat will find some corner to play in again. It's practically tradition at this point. Veronica and Brigitte might go out for a midnight dip by the waterfall, too. They've been swimming out there for years. Now everyone's getting clever, trying to stay out from the Abbot's eye. Rightly so, he's an ass. I didn't see you in the town commons during Otto's speech. Aren't you standing with the peasants? Well, their cause doesn't really affect me, does it? I'm as worried as anyone about soldiers rushing through here, but the new taxes and restrictions don't bother me. I understand why they're upset, but I've been doing fine out here with less than they have. Nothing will change for me if they get their way. You could still support them. I don't want to get involved. I'm fine as I am. Supporting them would be the proper Christian thing to do, I guess. But when have any of them done the Christian thing for me? The Christian way is to help without expecting anything in return. It's the giving that counts. Easy for men of means to be benevolent. All I want is fairness, decency. I've given them my work for years, but they refuse to treat me right. They mock me for my blind faith, since I have to keep a constant eye on the kiln for days on end, and can't go to the... Blind faith, And can't go to church as often. They laugh at the way I stink. I can't help that, you know. You know, what an interesting thing. The binary option here is very limiting, which is interesting in and of itself. You know, you're right. You don't owe them shit. Ungrateful bastards what they are. Ah, well, enough of that. Thanks for stopping by, Master Maller. Until later, Smokey. Until then. Yeah. Yep. I think the subtext there's two subtexts, I think, regarding him. For one, he basically is in it's a kind of similar situation, narratively speaking, anyway. It's kind of in a similar situation to Voislav, I forget his name, in regards to being excluded for who he is. Obviously, you know, he could start being a kiln keeper or whatever, whereas being a Roma person, you can't stop being a Roma person. But, so from a narrative perspective, they kind of are the same a little. But on the other hand, it's the highlight of a theme that has been brought up, and it could have been brought up as just sort of like a throwaway theme, which is they're trying to divide us. Otto said something regarding the rat house, and because the rat house, people would discuss and try to decide what is best for town and all that sort of stuff. And in that discussion, a wise politician could muster the illusion that there's an option for the population to dictate where things are going. But at the end of the day, the population is just arguing with itself rather than with the people that actually hold the power. And so that could be just a throwaway subject. You know, they're trying to divide us. But no, this is the same subject. This is him not aligning with the common interests of the people. His own interests as well, mind you. This is him not aligning with them because they are they are hateful towards him in a different way than they were towards Voislav, but specifically they exclude him from town because of his job and his stink. So that's quite interesting. It's definitely the same subject, brought twice. Let's see where that goes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a central aspect of the whole Rat House saga, because it makes sense that it would be. The dynamic is really complicated, though, because, you have a monarch, and, it's not a monarch, though. Would they be? Well, you have a person with power, right? Or a group of people with power, And people and the peasants are like, "Oh no, your power is hurting my feet," or something. And then what do? You get them a house where they can argue among each other what hurt is being caused to them the most. And this is not only a huge amount of trouble for the population to go through, instead of just being all in agreement among themselves in just a normal day to day, because they know what's going on. People among themselves know what's going on. But if they need to go to the rat house and follow procedures and all that, and as it is right, it's a right thing to do, right? In our modern sort of liberal world of today, it's a right thing to do to go to the townhouse and be like, let's learn about what's going on in town and do things the proper way. Here it's the beginning of that sort of dynamic, that sort of democratizing of power. But there's the side effect. What I'm trying to say here is there's the side effect of having people argue among themselves rather than just arguing with the people of power. And there's the side effect of also benefiting people who are in the know and know exactly how to do the procedures of the whole rat house discussions and all that, and B, have the time to do it, and also they're just more predisposed to doing it. So somebody who is more excluded, like Smokey, for example, would never go to the rat house, and just excluded from that institution. When right now, without the rat house, because it's not built yet, right now he's just sort of like in the middle of the whole thing, even though he doesn't see it like that. His life could still benefit from improvements to taxation and stuff. But, I mean, I suppose it's difficult. It's difficult.